You know, this was created by ICE. We definitely did not go there for this situation.
But constitutional law professor and Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley says McIver is about to find out it doesn't work that way.
Well, I doubt seriously that the congresswoman is going to make this argument in court because it's legally absurd. The fact that you went there for an oversight or legislative purpose is beside the point. You can go to a bank for a legitimate purpose, but if you rob the bank, that's a problem. If you go to a facility to ask to be let in and they refuse and then you storm the gate, that is also a problem. Both of those are crimes. Article 1 does not give members of Congress authority to force their way into federal facilities.
Congressional Republicans are pushing ahead with a budget bill that would advance much of President Trump's agenda. The House Rules Committee took up the bill early Wednesday morning as GOP members hope to get a vote on the bill as soon as possible. Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill with the latest.
Everyone wants to know when the House may vote on the big, beautiful bill, but some GOP skeptics are closer to getting on board. But Fox is told other problems erupted overnight. That is typical when trying to finalize a bill of this magnitude. One of the most vexing issues has been SALT. That's a tax break for state and local taxes. There was a deal for an expanded SALT deduction. Conservatives worry about a pay-for, but New York Republicans say it's essential for their votes.
New Orleans police making multiple arrests Tuesday in relation to the 10 inmates who escaped jail last week, including a maintenance worker who was allegedly involved in helping them get out of the jail. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel says they are doing a thorough investigation of the facility to see if anyone else helped the inmates get out.
We are continuing to vet all leads related to the internal staff and organizational structure, policies, procedures, culture at the prison. You know, all of these things contributed to what happened that day.
Many Americans across the South are breathing a sigh of relief after a second round of severe weather did not meet expectations following earlier storms that left devastating impacts. Garrett Tenney has more from hard-hit London, Kentucky.
A lot of prayers of gratitude from folks here after officials ordered a mandatory evacuation because they were so concerned that the winds would be strong enough to take all of these large piles of debris that are just lining the streets through here and turn them into projectiles that could create even more destruction in this already hard-hit community. Now, thankfully, they dodged a bullet, and folks here are once again back out cleaning up.
Colorado is being taken to court over its new anti-discrimination law.
The law aims to protect people identifying as the opposite sex and how they are addressed into Colorado's anti-discrimination law. Attorney Sarah Parshall-Perry of Defending Education says that is a problem.
We're suing as an organization and on behalf of two of our members who themselves run parents' rights organizations as well. Not only are our members impacted, but their members are impacted as well. So we're suing in conjunction with an organization called Do No Harm, which is doctors, medical professionals who are critical of gender ideology.
While this is a Colorado law, Perry says this could have national implications.
You cannot force an individual to communicate a message with which they do not agree. Anyone who is in a public facility has to refer to a transgender person by the pronouns that that person uses or the name that that person uses. Well, that's going to require plaintiffs like our organization and our individual members to be forced to affirm lies and communicate messages with which they don't believe.
I'm Chris Woodward.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
We inform.
Religious freedom is about people of faith being able to live out their faith, live out their convictions, no matter where they are.
We equip.
Sacred honor is the courage to speak truth, to live out your free speech.
We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome to At the Core with Walker Wildman and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, filling in for Walker Wildman today. Great to be back with you after yesterday. We had a great time, Walker and I together hosting the program. Going to try to do that a little more often. We had a great time. Hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't just, overload. Sometimes, sensory overload. If you get both of us in the same day, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it worked out great. So he's out and about. I don't even know where he is today, but I'm filling in. And then I'll be back with you tomorrow. So 3 days in a row? I mean, I don't know. That might be overload. Can you handle it? You can handle the truth. Can you handle the truth? Actually, you get the truth from Walker anyway, so it's not any different. All right, we're going to have some fun today. I'm looking for some great phone calls. So everybody get ready to dial in. 888-589-8840. I'm looking for some fun phone calls today. So make sure you got your comments, questions, and insults ready to go. I need your help today. I didn't get a lot of show prep time in, so I'm just going to be hitting the headlines and then going to the phones. So we'll have some fun. You guys don't hesitate to holler about whatever you would like to chat about today. I've got one just kind of pet peeve thing to start with though. I'm looking at this headline from Southwest Airlines, and this whole thing over the batteries is just getting, I don't know, annoying to me. I mean, first of all, I pause. I get confused whenever the check-in person says, do you have any, yada, yada, yada? They explain, they have all these words for these different kinds of batteries and in your bag. And I have to think through it. I'm going, okay, wait, I've got cables and I don't know do I have a charger for my phone in there? I don't know if I have, and I usually check a gun. So it's like, that's a little bit more complicated usually and a little bit more of a big deal than a battery. But they've got this huge emphasis. And I know we've had some of them apparently catch on fire and that's their big concern now. But I just saw this headline, and apparently Southwest Airlines is going to require you, I don't even know how they would enforce this, but they're going to require passengers to keep their portable chargers visible while using them amid concerns over an increasing number of lithium-ion battery fires on board flights. Well, first of all, lithium-ion battery fires on board flights. Okay, that does concern me a little bit, and makes me start thinking about, electric cars catching on fire and all this. I'm going, all this push towards batteries, and we're starting to get these, policy changes because they're blowing up, they're catching on fire. I mean, what is going on? Apparently, Southwest said in the rare event, okay, I hope it's rare, that a lithium battery overheats or catches fire, quick access is critical, and keeping power banks in plain sight allow for faster intervention and helps protect everyone on board. Okay. Call me just knee-jerk reaction guy to any level of authority telling me what to do. That's probably true. I definitely have a problem with authority. I've been that way since I was 3 years old. But, so I already, bristle every time I'm told what to do, going, checking in and on the plane and all of that. And I feel like I'm in the Gestapo is marching me wherever I'm going to go, which is why I always turn down the picture, by the way, at TSA, just the chance to say no. I mean, I don't even know if you can do that or not, but when you're checking in, and they do another picture of you as you're handing your boarding pass or license to the TSA agent and stand in front of here and it just feels too much like the deep state has taken over and I'm in some sort of communist country. So you're allowed to opt out of that. You have to give them your license again. And they run it that way. And, of course, it's silly in a way because they've already got 1 million pictures of me in their database. But as I tell the TSA agent every time, I'm just like, dude, I just want to be able to say no once in a while. I just love being able to say finally to something, say no. You don't get to get another picture of me or require this other thing of me. I mean, they already molest me when I'm, if I ever go through there and there's any red spot anywhere on my jeans or my zipper or any of that, that gets really old, by the way. I'm just fed up with that. And so anyway, I definitely bristle whenever they say you have to keep this out or you have to put this here. And I just want to know that there's a good reason. If you're going to do that, make sure that there's a really, really good reason and that you're not, overreacting, which is what this feels like to me. So I don't know the data. Maybe somebody can call in and tell me that I'm being way too sensitive here and I'm overreacting. but how many fires have happened from lithium batteries? Like, how often has this happened? Or is this the safetyism run amok again, where one or two of these things happened out of how many hundreds of millions of flights with people having batteries, and how many, hundreds of millions of examples of people having batteries on flights that didn't do that, right? Like, did this really, really rare thing happen, and now we're tripping all over ourselves, creating all this additional red tape, creating all this, totalitarian control of where you sit, how you sit, what's in your bag, what's outside your bag, where is your bag. I mean, it's the same with the, I know I sound grumpy today. I'll get to the joyful stuff in a minute, folks, but it's the same with the, not being able to have your backpack underneath your legs. You got to have it under the seat. Is there really that much of a difference between it being underneath your legs so that you can actually get your feet underneath the seat and having it underneath the seat? They just do these silly, way over the top. And I'm sure some stewardess or steward's going to call in, or some pilot or some trainer for some airline, and give me the data and explain to me that it's for my own good, and it's so that I'll be safe and everybody on the plane will be safe, which is why I keep saying safetyism. Yeah, I almost did a 1980s Valley Girl thing and said gag me. That would be embarrassing. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud. Oh, wait, did say that out loud. All right, anyway, enough about Southwest Airlines. Somebody tell me whether or not this thing is overboard, and also tell me, how in the world are they going to know? I guess if you have your cable, because it actually says while in use, so I guess if your cable's going from your laptop to your bag, they might say, oh, well, if you're using or from your phone maybe to your rechargeable, little square thing that everybody's carrying around now, into the bag, they're going to say you need to have that. Now, where are you going to put that? Where's that going to go? You going to set it out on your lap, and so you have, while you're trying to balance your laptop or whatever, you're going to put it on the little miniature fold-out table that they give you that already doesn't have enough room for a laptop and a drink? Are you going to put it on the neighbor's lap? What do you? It's just more control that makes no sense and is eventually going to just make flying miserable once again. And yes, I'm still bitter from the mass and the little Hitler tyrants that were running these airlines and these airplanes all throughout 2020 and 2021, and maybe I've just got PTSD. Maybe they just triggered me today. Maybe this article triggered me. All right, folks. Hopefully the whole hour won't be like this. It's just one of those days. All right. Not so good news. Mortgage demand slumps. Rates rise to highest level since February. Okay, this I did not expect. Okay, I've been hearing good stuff, even with all the tariffs. Really good, news on inflation not going up and sales doing well. I think even Home Depot had come out and said that the tariffs are not gonna cause them to increase prices, that they're going to be able to absorb most of that, and they think it won't last long. I mean, that's good news. Ford had come out and said, as Walker mentioned, I think it was yesterday, whenever, come out and said that they were for the tariffs. This one kind of surprises me. I honestly thought that there would be, an increase, that I thought interest rates would come down and more homes would start moving as the economy was coming back, now that we got decent policies and a good president and that. So I'm guessing, I'm just going to throw this out there. Somebody that's smarter on this stuff can call in and correct me. I am guessing that what it probably is all of the deportations and the decrease in demand for housing from the 20 million illegal aliens coming in. So even though they haven't all been deported, their plans are changing. Just real life is kicking in, right? They're having to calculate the fact that they're either going to be deported or they can self-deport, and so they're not making the move towards housing that they were making. That pressure on the housing market that was significant. I mean, you throw 20 million people into the mix, they got to live somewhere, and so that was having a significant impact on the housing market. It's not that they're all gone; they haven't all been deported, but I bet their decisions are different, and we don't have the same daily influx with that continued pressure. So that is probably outweighing the increased demand from actual citizens and residents and people that live here and legally, and we're hoping to make a move in the housing market as things got better with the economy. That would be my guess. You know, I don't know. I always hate seeing the negative, the negative economic news whenever so many good things have been getting done in policy, because it makes me pause and go, okay, well, maybe I have to rethink what I had assumed would happen as a result of some of these policies. But I just think there's more factors at play here, and it's probably going to play into the whole, give this thing a little bit of time. As I mentioned about a month ago on the tariffs, I couldn't see that actually playing out for at least till the end of the year, and yet in just a couple of months, President Trump was able to get China and a lot of these other nations to fold and back off. So anyway, we'll see. It's not going to do the whole day on economics, but I just thought those two headlines jumped out at me, and thought we'd chat about those first. So we'll get to a little bit more of the headlines. Definitely want to get to your phone calls, 888-589-8840. We'll do that in the third segments today, and also hopefully give a little bit more of a recap on the Rebuilding Liberty effort that we were talking a little bit about yesterday with Walker. This 250th thing, I had a big event at our campus last night. It was really cool to see all these people come out and just super excited about what we're doing at the Patriot Academy campus, getting ready for the 250th. And as Walker and I were chatting a little bit about yesterday, this is not going to be a one-day thing on the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The beauty of the 250th is that we get a whole year, a little more than a year. But I guess today is 410 days as of today. So we get 410 days to teach people about the Declaration before we celebrate the anniversary of the Declaration on July 4th, 2026. So last night we had a bunch of folks out at the campus talking about that and getting prepared for what we're going to be doing over the next year. And Sunday, this weekend, we're going to be finishing the filming for the Rebuild Liberty course. Now, the book that I've got coming out is called A Blueprint for Rebuilding Liberty, Just in Time for America's 250th. And I kind of broke down some of that a few weeks ago on the program, talking about the 222, that you got to give your lives, fortune, sacred honor if you want to save the country. So you give 2 hours of your week, that's 2 hours of your life, 2% of your fortune, donating to candidates, causes, whatever, invest in freedom somehow, and 2 posts a week where you're, putting a little reputation on the line. You're actually saying, hey, I'm willing to stand behind these statements and these principles. I'm willing to stand up to what's been happening with the left, and I'm willing to say some things are wrong and that they're bad for our country. And so if that's you, if you're willing to take those kind of stands, you're willing to give of your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor. And again, I want to repeat, I'm not asking you to give all of your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor. We're just looking for 222. 2 hours a week, 2% of your fortune, and 2 posts per week where you share, maybe Walker puts out some kind of post, or I put out a post, or David Barton or somebody, but you share some sort of post about the Rebuilding Liberty effort, about what's going on in the world right now and the things that need to happen to rebuild the foundations of our country. So I don't think we're asking too much of anybody with the 222. So we'll keep coming back to that. Maybe once a week I'll recap what we're asking folks to do, and also get you to start thinking about the actual action steps you can be using that 2 hours a week with. In other words, you may want to host a Constitution class in your home or church or whatever. You may want to go knock on doors for a candidate, or maybe for a particular ballot issue in your state, or whatever's happening in your area. You may want to spend 2 hours a week volunteering at the local food pantry, or your church might have something going on. Anything you're doing to rebuild the foundations of the country and rebuild the biblical principles of liberty, which includes treating your neighbor the way you want to be treated and being a servant leader in your community, is going to help to make sure we're celebrating on the 250th next July. So we'll keep drilling down into those various areas, and something's going to pique your interest. I'm going to say something, and you're going to go, ooh, I could do that. That could be my thing for Rebuilding Liberty. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break. Phone calls when we come back. 888-589-8840 is the phone number. I'm Rick Green. You're listening to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green.
But you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who is giving you power to make wealth. My name is Abraham Hamilton III, and this is the Hamilton Minute. The Trump administration has recently announced trade deals of various types with the UK, China, and Qatar. This all follows the stance President Trump took in an America First commitment on tariffs. The White House has also announced that it is meeting with a host of other nations concerning trade. One thing is undeniable. For at least the previous half-century, American leadership has seemed content with allowing the American Rust Belt phenomenon. It's heartening to see President Trump working to deliver on his campaign promise to put the American people first.
Listen each weekday from 5 to 6 p.m. Central for the Hamilton Corner, or visit the podcast page at afr.net for more from Abraham Hamilton III, Public Policy Analyst for the American Family Association. The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-788-1813.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, I wanted to make you aware of our trips to Israel and Greece in 2026. We're going in March. It's usually a beautiful time of the year to go in terms of the weather, and we're excited to go back to Israel for like our 27th or 28th time and take a group of folks who want to see the land where Jesus walked. That's in March. And also in March, my sons Wesley and Walker are leading a tour to Greece and to what we call the Footsteps of Paul tour. Those are going to be back to back. So if you want to do both, you're welcome to do both. Again, Israel and Greece, 2 separate trips in March of 2026. For all the information, go to wildmongroup.com, WILDMON group.com.
At the Core podcasts are available at afr.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach. Thanks for staying with me today. Filling in for Walker today. He's usually with you on Wednesdays. Of course, our normal schedule, he's got you Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I got you Tuesday, Thursday. Yesterday, we both had you. And today, I'm filling in for Walker. So thanks for letting us just keep you totally confused. That's the goal. Keep you totally confused. All right, we're going to hit the phones today, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, and don't forget the 222, okay? Be thinking about it. What can you do with your 2 hours of your life a week, 2% of your fortune, and 2 posts a week to put your sacred honor on the line? Lives, fortune, sacred honor. We need to all give that little bit of it for the next 410 days so we can save our country. All righty, let's jump over to Vicky in Texas. Vicky in Texas, how you doing? What's your comment, question, or insult? Go for it.
Hey, good afternoon. I am a commercially rated pilot, and
All
I
right.
do understand the lithium issue. What the general public does not know is how many instances on general aviation or commercial aviation flights that, unfortunately, lithium batteries do cause a problem. You're not going to hear about that every day. Pilots have to deal with that every day. So is it an unfathomable rule that you're going to have to live with? It's not a bad one. And trust me, everything they do, everything is all the staff, the checklist, all of that is for your safety. So,
well, I'm curious, like when you say it happens more often, but we don't hear about it. Like, what happens?
The batteries can get hot. They can overheat. Like if you have, let's say you have some batteries in a battery charger, little rechargeable AA batteries at home, and they're not really, they're not charging like you want, and you reach down and touch them, and they're very hot. They can have a problem. They don't always, but they can. They can smoke. They can start. They can start a fire. And if it's a flight I'm flying, I don't want to fire on my flight. So
well, I hear you. I hear you.
That.
Lots of things can happen. I'm asking how much it has happened. Like what's actually happened.
I can't give you numbers on that, but I can tell you the general public has no idea what happens on the numbers of things that happens on flights and commercial and general aviation, charter flights, you name it.
Vicki, do you listen to my program much? I'm just curious.
I don't as often as I want to. But
I was just wondering if you knew how ornery I am. Like you know, right?
It takes one to know one.
So that's why I'm like when you say the public just doesn't know, you know what my response to that is? Well, why not? And am I just supposed to trust the fact that enough of it has happened in the past? You know, I'm just that guy, right? I'm just the one that's going to raise my hand and go, well, wait, okay, you're telling me to just do this because, trust me, we're going to take care of you. I'm the last guy that's going to do that. I'm going to ask, like, I hear you, it could happen, but I want to hear that it has happened, and if so, like, how often out of the millions and millions of batteries that are rechargers that you get what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just trying to get a better handle on what the real risk is. Not just the possibility that it could be a problem that happens more often.
You want to know the why behind the what, and I understand that.
Yeah. You're a pilot. You want to know too, I bet.
Well, it would be nice, but I'm not generally too concerned about it. Just because there are general rules in place that help keep everyone safe, not just me.
Yeah.
And as I was a skydiving instructor also. And
cool.
I used to tell my students, if we have a problem in the airplane and I can safely get you out of the airplane, that's fine. We would hook them up, do a static line. They would get out of the airplane. I said, but if I get out of the airplane, it would behoove you to follow me. So with a regular airplane, that's generally not a possibility.
Right. You're great, Vicki. I hope you call in more often. Thank you for listening today.
Hey, you guys are awesome. Thanks for what you do. Seriously.
You bet. God bless you. Yeah, I know those of you that listen all the time, you know how ornery I am, and it is very much PTSD from the COVID safety cult. That is why I have just this. If you're watching online, I've got a tick. I mean, I'm literally like twitching anytime I'm told, "Trust us on this. We're just trying to keep you safe." And you know, I just immediately see Anthony Fauci, you know, lying to the American people and telling them to do stupid things like wearing 2 masks and all the other stupid things that we were told to do. And then, of course, my distrust of the airlines and airline personnel. No offense to Vicki, you know, because the pilots really weren't that bad during all of this. It wasn't all the flight attendants. I had great flight attendants sometimes that would be like, hey, they'd kind of wink and say, don't worry, go ahead and keep eating your chocolate covered pomegranates and you don't have to put that stupid mask on. And then I had other ones that were, and you could tell the ones that were total tyrants. They were the ones that had never had any real power in their life. And the worst ones were these soy boys, you know, these stewards that were, you know, clearly they loved the opportunity to lord over a guy like me. Let me just put it that way, because I kind of, you know, I bristle at that kind of stuff. So anyway, so yeah, I got a little PTSD at the idea that these same people that meaning the government and the airline executives that flat out, you know, lied to us for all of the COVID nonsense and made us do things that were actually unhealthy and actually bad for us. To have to wear a mask like that was absolutely unhealthy for people. And I watched also just the cruelty with which they did it to a lot of people, to the kids. Do you remember that? How they would make a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old have to wear a mask on a plane, and they kicked entire families off of planes because a 2-year-old would not keep a mask on, as I would hope a 2-year-old would not want to wear that mask because they can't breathe normally, and they're having to breathe in the toxins of the mask and getting less oxygen to the brain. I mean, all the stupid things that we were told to do. And you know, a lot of it too was the fact that It was this incalcitrance, this unwillingness to even have mercy on people. I had this one lady, wonderful friend from Florida, and her and her husband had come to one of our classes in Nevada, and she has a real bad asthma problem, and so she couldn't literally medically could not wear a mask, and so going home, the airline, in fact, it was Southwest. Southwest kicked her off her flight, even though she had a medical letter, everything showing she couldn't do that. And she had to go pay $800 for a one-way ticket to get home on a different airline that would acknowledge her medical exemption. And it was that kind of stuff. It was the rape victims, the people that had been completely abused and had major trauma at having anything covering their face like that from an abusive situation, with zero mercy for those people, zero just intelligence to say it doesn't make sense to keep you from flying or to make you wear that mask. So anyway, I know that has nothing to do with the batteries. It's just where my PTSD and my immediate knee-jerk reaction to the idea of saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're keeping you safe, and it's all for your safety." And the safetyism just is. I'm always going to question it. I'm not against being safe, and I absolutely want the planes to fly well and have all their safety checks. And I don't want little bombs, out of batteries that are going to blow up and cause problems, of course. So I want them to do good science here and do things that are reasonable and rational. I'm just going to question. I'm just going to be one of those guys that questions to make sure. Okay, let's go back to the phones. 888-589-8840. Next up in Texas is Sue. Sue, go ahead. You're up next. Comment, question, insult. You got the floor.
Hello?
Hey,
Can you
Sue.
hear me?
I hear you.
Yes, I want to start by telling you how much I love you. I love AFA. I love the shows. I listen to you every day. I
got a bad feeling this is one of those, but Rick, you're wrong on this. No, go ahead.
Yes. But one thing I would love for you all to know is what we already know as flight attendants. I am a flight attendant. I take care of 500 people a day. I love it, but a lot of times it's safety, safety, safety. And we don't need to panic the people by saying, well, if you don't do it, blah, blah, blah. So we just got to follow rules. And I myself have been through some safety issues in the airline industry. So I honestly could tell you we do it for your guys' good.
Do you think it ever gets overdone?
Some of the flight attendants, yes, I do agree. They have this power high, Yeah. But most of the time, it's because it's really for your safety. Easy way out of the aircraft in case of an emergency. Easy way out, And those batteries do get hot. My own battery just got hot about a week ago. On Mother's Day, I had to go get a new phone. I woke up in the morning. My battery was by my bed. It was hot as anything. The cell phone was not holding a charge. I went, this is not good. After my training, this is not good at all. So I ended up getting a new phone, 3 years old phone. So you always have to be cautious, and we always want to take care of yourself, but of course, always with respect.
But have you ever seen one actually catch on fire? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get to. Is I know they get hot. Mine gets hot. I'm just wondering how often.
Well, I have not, because we're preventing that. We don't ever want to get to the point where we have to pull out all our emergency equipment to put out a fire. You see how tight the airplanes are. They're very tight. But our training is very well done, that we could see it. We see these devices catch on fire. So we don't want to get to that point. So
you have seen them catch on fire.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to is I want to hear an example of one actually catching on fire, and I'm sure it has happened. I'm just trying to measure, because here's what I don't like, Sue. I don't want us to ever be Andrew Cuomo, where he said if it saves one life, it's worth it. And they don't do a cost-benefit analysis, because he ended up killing tens of thousands of people by putting people back into the homes, and the whole thing that he did. And so it's the lack of intelligent analysis with a cost-benefit to realize you're not going to never have an accident. There's going to be you can't fly and not have an accident at some point, or you can't have batteries without one at some point, catching on fire or whatever. So I'm just trying to get to where that statistical analysis is that makes sense on the cost-benefit analysis. And so I just want to hear, there are examples of them blowing up or catching on fire and being a problem.
So I think you should Google it, a battery catching on fire on a cell phone or a laptop or an iPad, and you'll see how they actually trigger. Sometimes there's more than one battery there. inside a device. One battery might catch on fire, then the second one, you think you got it out, then the second one might catch on fire, and before you know it, you got a full-blown, emergency on the plane, and we can't afford to do that for the passengers. We got to make sure we keep them safe. So really, really, truly, it's really for our own good, because it's for my own good too as a flight attendant. So I just want to make sure I get you safe from point A to point B. And I love you guys.
I love you too, Sue. God bless you. You have a fantastic afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Let's go back to the phones man, I got a lot of text. Wait a minute. I got all Texas calls today. I'm looking at a lit up board, and every single one, this warms my heart. The fact that many Texans would call in to chew me out. No, I'm kidding, not chew me out. They're all different comments. But anyway, everybody's call. Somebody call from another state just so that, the guys at American Family Association don't worry that Texas is taking over, because if Texas takes over, actually that would be good for everyone, I think. All right, we're going to stay in Texas then. Gina in Texas is going to be up next. Gina, hey, thanks for calling in. What's your comment, question, insult, whatever you got?
Oh, yes, it's so good to talk to you. I'm your neighbor up here in the Tyler area.
Yay!
And
I filmed my first Constitution class in Tyler. Not the first class, but the first time we filmed the Constitution class was in Tyler.
Really? Well, I'm not surprised. It's a wonderful, wonderful area, Rick.
It is.
I'm going to change the subject just a little bit. I went back to the 222, which I love. And I'm very involved in my local Republican Party. And I scan several news feeds every day, and I send out alerts to a lot of people. That's kind of how I invest my time. I'm also going back to graduate school to study ministry since I'm retired from my first job, which involves a lot of traveling. So I don't envy you. It's a lot of work to running back and forth to the airport, Rick. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
But what I wanted to on the 222, one thing that gets my hair standing on end is when I hear somebody who's written a Christian book, and a lot of them have, thank God for that. But then they come out and they say, well, you can find me on Amazon. I
right.
thought, well, we've got Christian bookstores and online Christian bookstores. And for example, yesterday in my news feed, in my search, I found that Amazon actually has T-shirts. Now, I didn't verify this, but usually the feeds I check are pretty accurate. They had T-shirts with 8647 on them.
Wow.
That they're selling.
Yeah. Well, I would just say right off the bat, Gina, 100% agree that we need to vote with our dollars, right? We need to steer our money to companies that support American values, not tear down American values. And that's the beauty of that is we're getting more and more. Sometimes you don't have an option, right? Like sometimes you with computers it's difficult. Like I use a Mac, even though Apple has been very liberal and most of their money goes to Democrats, and it's not a company I would prefer to support. But I don't have a good alternative that I've found that will work with the technology that we need in production. A lot of times we had to buy camera equipment or sound equipment that is from a company that isn't the preferred vendor for the values that we have. But then other times we have a choice. Insurance, we have a choice. We can use Samaritans or Christian Medishare or whatever they call it. We can use in our phones we can use Patriot Mobile instead of AT&T or these other companies that are tearing down our values. So I think you're 100% spot on that. Amazon's a tough one because it is so convenient. I have to admit, I use it. I buy stuff from there. I try not to. I try to buy from companies that do support it. I try to use some of these new Public Square and some of these new conservative outlets. But you're spot on, and I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you called today because I think I need to add that, and that may be why you called. I need to add that to the 222 and add that to our Rebuilding Liberty plan. I mention it in the book, but I don't give a lot of options and alternatives. So, Gina, you've given me homework for today. Thank you so much. I didn't have enough to do. No, I love you. It's so true. I mean, we need to be voting with our dollars. American families always push for that. That's why we do the whole Christmas thing and talk about which stores are doing the right thing. And I mean, it's so that you can support people that support our values and not support people that are tearing down our values. Don't fund the enemy. Now, sometimes, like I said, you don't have an option. I'll admit, I'm a coffeeaholic. I try to avoid Starbucks at all costs. But if I'm stuck somewhere and it's the only option, I got to have my coffee. So it's rare, but once in a while, I'll still buy one. All right, quick break. 888-589-8840. We'll be right back. You're listening to At the Core.
thoughts of the child you were carrying keep pouring over in your mind. A deep, unrelenting sadness overshadows your days, and you wonder if you will ever feel whole again. There is hope and healing from a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline, 866-482-LIFE, and talk with someone who has been where you are. Your call is confidential, and we will help you find healing. 866-482-LIFE.
Some would say truth is relative, and to the world, that's right. What the world considers to be truth fluctuates depending on the narrative they're trying to promote. Of course, we know truth is found in Scripture, and it never changes. The documentary, The God Who Speaks, proves the Bible's reliability as the source of real truth and reinforces our belief in it as our firm foundation. Watch it anytime at stream.afa.net. That's stream.afa.net. Have you wanted to take your family to Kentucky to visit the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, but just never took the time? Don't put it off any longer. Let 2025 be the year you check that off the list. In fact, you can make it an even more memorable trip when you join AFA at the Ark October 30th and 31st. On Thursday, you'll get transportation for a tour of the Creation Museum, and Friday will take you for a tour of the Ark Encounter. But that's just the beginning. Expand your knowledge of creation with a special dinner presentation on Thursday by Answers in Genesis astronomer Dr. Danny Faulkner. Friday, Dr. Georgia Purdom, Answers in Genesis Vice President of Educational Content, will help you dig deeper into the Bible. And Friday evening, enjoy dinner and a panel discussion with Tony Vitagliano, Walker Wildmon, and Wesley Wildmon, Vice Presidents of American Family Association. Visit afa.net/events today and click on AFA at the Ark. afa.net/events and click on AFA at the Ark. What does the future hold for American education? On the next AFA at Home, host Walker Wildmon and his guests will provide answers.
Before we start talking solutions, we want to give a little context and history just to tell you how we got to where we are today.
When you remove the Bible out of schools, when you remove any mention of faith from the history classes, well, you've created now a generation of individuals that, frankly, I think they're going to be very shocked by hearing a lot of the conversation today because that wasn't in their history class.
The Lord was talking to parents. He wasn't talking to government. Children belong to their parents. They do not belong to the government.
There's either going to be the DEI, woke, Marxism, or you're going to go back to religion, morality, and knowledge.
Don't miss Episode 7 of AFA at Home, premiering May 15th at 6 p.m. Central on AFA Stream. It's free for 1 week, so mark your calendar and sign up for your free Stream account today. Stop by stream.afa.net. stream.afa.net.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio with your host, Walker Wildmon.
Welcome back to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach, filling in for Walker today, and also will be with you tomorrow. So you're stuck with me for 3 days in a row. It's a wild ride. Let's go back to the phones. Lots of Texans calling in today. Wendell from Texas.
Yes.
Wendell, go ahead, man.
Yes, I loved your dissertation last week on the papers, that you gave a speech on the Federalist Papers. And to be direct, I was very much agreeing and liking that. There's a lot of eye-opening stuff there you gave in that dissertation. My question is, why doesn't someone alert either Laura Trump or President Trump's legal officers into this so that he can defend himself more adequately against these rogue, far-left, Masonic, Satanist Democrats and put them in their place with this information and say, here you go, here's the facts. This is where we got our Constitution from. This is where they based it on. This is how they separated the three branches of the government. And this is who's got the sword over it, as you had stated.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I really think they're way more clued into this than I thought they would be. I have been shocked at how well they have argued these cases and brought in the precedent and the constitutional, the debates and the origin of the clauses in the Constitution rather than just going off of Supreme Court decisions of the last 30 years. That's been a breath of fresh air in the way that this has been approached. So whoever's calling the shots on that, for President Trump behind the scenes is doing a phenomenal job. And, you know, for us, we always go back to the Federalist Papers and the debates in the states on the ratification of the Constitution, and of course the debates at the Constitutional Convention, and you know, use that to say, here's what the original intent was. This is how they expected it to work. And that's why I love Hamilton's comments in Federalist 78, where he talks about, you know, the court it has neither the purse nor the sword. It doesn't have force or will. I mean, you don't have to worry about the court. It's not going to be able to be tyrannical. It's not going to be able to take away your liberty. They never dreamed that a low-level federal district judge would think they had the authority to tell the whole country what to do or to override, you know, the president on these kind of things. It did start happening fairly quickly in terms of the courts pushing its power, but, you know, guys like Jefferson pushed back on that. But Hamilton was pretty clear in Federalist 78 that you know, this is if you ever did cross that line, if the court started trying to make law like these district judges are doing with these rogue decisions, if the court ever does that, then you have everything to fear from the courts, because now you have actual tyranny. This is true tyranny in a black robe when you have an unelected person. You have not chosen, no one in America other than the president that appointed them. No one in America got to vote, and I guess the Senate whenever they approved. So yeah, okay, you had 101 people get to have some say in who this judge was. But we did not have an election from the people. We did not choose this federal judge or any of these federal judges that have been doing these decisions. And even if we had, even if that local area, wherever their district court is, even if they had chosen, even if they had been able to vote for and elect that judge, do we think those people in that district should get to tell the rest of the country what to do? Should they be able to elect a federal judge that then's going to make policy for a whole nation? That doesn't make sense to anybody. Everybody realizes that's tyranny. That's you know, literally, that's not just taxation without representation or regulation without representation. That's tyranny without representation. That's allowing someone else to completely make the law for you that you did not choose. So there's no consent of the governed. In other words, there's none of the basic ideas of how the constitutional republic is supposed to work. So I completely agree with you, Wendell. I mean, I think President Trump should push the envelope on this. He should absolutely go as far as he possibly can to stop this. I actually think it's good that that these judges have done this, because it's bringing into focus what has actually been a problem for, you know, as Clarence Thomas pointed out, for at least, you know, 18 years when they really started doing these national injunctions in 2007. But really a problem for 50 or 60 years, where the court has been way overstepping its bounds and making policy instead of applying policy. That's their job. They're supposed to apply policy to the people that are standing before them in the courtroom. That's the job of the court. Policy is supposed to be created. Law is supposed to be created by the legislative authority given to the legislature. I mean, they just think about the names of these various branches of the government. So anyway, I think I guess what I'm trying to say is I think they are on top of it. I think they are pushing this about as far as they can, and they will continue to push it. They're bringing it to a head. We'll see what the Supreme Court says in this case with the birthright citizenship, because that's the case where they bring up all of these issues with regard to a district judge being able to overrule the president of the United States on so many of these what are clearly policy issues. And so once and as I said, I think yesterday with Walker, I don't feel great about it. I don't think it's likely that we win that case. I think Thomas and Alito, I think it's going to be a 7-2 decision, or maybe 6-3. I think Thomas and Alito will definitely be on the right side of it. They will say everything I'm saying right now, and they will give the constitutional history of it in their dissent. You watch. But I think Barrett and Roberts will definitely side with the liberals, and I think you've got a pretty decent chance that even Gorsuch or Kavanaugh also go that way on this particular issue. Because for them, you got to understand the mindset. These people are, it's like a cabal, man. They are, when you come up through the ranks of the legal community and you're in the upper echelons of that, if you go to one of the top law schools and then you clerk for one of the top law firms or one of the big judges, and then you get hired by one of the big law firms, all you ever hear is how the judges are basically the high priest of the law, that they are going to save the world, that they're somehow impartial, which they are not, and that they're going to be the ones to make everything right. And the sarcasm and the disdain for the American people and for the elected representatives of the American people that comes out of the judicial not just the judicial branch in terms of the judges, but also just the legal community itself, it's nauseating. It is so. It's why I don't even I practice very little law anymore. I was so turned off by that, even back in law school 30 years ago, and certainly in the legal community, and even when I ran for judge in Texas, it was just so obvious and so over the top. And that's what's happening right now. That's why you're going to have a hard time getting 5 Supreme Court justices, anyone from within the system, to go against the system. To get 5 Supreme Court justices that actually say, the court really shouldn't have this much power, whether at the lowest level or at the highest level. The power resides with the legislature and the president. To get them to say that today, after all these years of them being told that they're so wonderful and they're the impartial ones, they're the ones that can make the right decision, and since they have supposed lifetime appointments, which they don't, it's for good behavior, but because of all of that, somehow that they're above all of the riffraff and they're above all of the petty stuff, they believe it. I mean, and I think Barrett has that disease. Roberts certainly has that disease. I see enough of it in Kavanaugh and Gorsuch that that's why we don't get them all the time, but we get them sometimes. Thomas and Alito are the only ones that somehow were inoculated from that. I think the inoculation for Thomas was his hearing whenever he was appointed to the Supreme Court by George H.W. Bush, and as he called it, a high-tech lynching occurred. For him, he became inoculated to the system. And maybe Kavanaugh to some extent because of what they did to him, but Alito is just for somehow, some way, just been solid. I mean, I don't know if it's because he Thomas helps, but anyway, those two are the only ones that I think are immune to that mindset and willing to basically do a shot across the bow of the entire judiciary itself, and to help get us back to the place that the Constitution actually established, which is not 3 equal branches of government. We do not have 3 equal branches of government. We're not supposed to. The Constitution is very clear, and the Federalist Papers are very clear, that the legislature, as Madison said in, I believe, Federalist 51, the legislature necessarily predominates, meaning it should be the most powerful of the 3 branches. Why? Because the House is elected every 2 years. They have to come home and answer to us the fastest. The second most powerful branch is the president. President kind of has to answer to us if they want to run for re-election to a second term, but also has a little bit of a accountability just from legacy and reputation and wanting to be popular and all that stuff. But judges, they have no accountability, none. And so they should have. I mean, the Federalist Papers actually make it clear that the legislature is supposed to hold them accountable. That's why they also say that that impeachment is a bridle in the hands of the legislature. If you impeach enough judges, it's like reins on the horse. You're going to be able to pull back that horse that's getting out of control. And so we've gotten that all out of whack with this whole literally, almost hero worship of the judges. And we give them too much power and too much of a pass. And so all of that to say, I'm sorry, I went way too long with Wendell's question, but it was good. And that I think President Trump and whoever it is behind the scenes that's kind of shepherding a lot of this positioning with the courts, they get it. They understand exactly what I just talked about. And they are trying to rebalance the balance of powers and the checks and balances in America to where it was supposed to be. Legislature most powerful, president second most powerful, and judiciary absolutely the weakest, just as it was described by the Founding Fathers. And Lord willing, we'll get back there. And we kind of needed this. You need the pain sometimes. You need the absurdity of a district judge overruling the president on a basic policy to enforce the law of the land for it to wake people up. And that's essentially what I think has happened. I think it's a very, very good thing. Okay, let's go to Thomas in Arkansas. We got to get out of Texas for a minute. And so go Hogs go. Thomas, what part of Arkansas are you calling from?
Yes, sir. I'm from the northwest Arkansas area, Benton County, to be specific.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We still got a place up in Marshall, Arkansas. And some of the best handguns on the planet are made up there. Wilson Combat, my gun crafter is made up there, and Nighthawk, all 3 of them. Great part of Arkansas. Awesome. Go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, so I'm a 20-year-old young man, and I just kind of wanted to ask, what would be the best way to go about maybe starting to implement the 222 rule myself and just kind of establishing a foundation? My dad actually turned me on to the radio, so I just started listening recently. I'm not too familiar with everything, but yeah, just kind of wanted to establish that question and pass to you.
Oh, I love that question, Thomas. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Question of the year right there, bro. First of all, let me tell you, let me just invite you. I'd love to have you at Patriot Academy. We do leadership congresses in state capitals around the country. In fact, we've got a graduate from not too far from where you are that's serving in the Arkansas legislature right now, Alyssa Brown. In fact, she passed the Ten Commandments bill just a couple of weeks ago. Super excited about that for the state of Arkansas. But anyway, would love to have you come either to the Patriot Academy campus in Texas and do our National Leadership Congress the last week of July, or join us anytime in June or July in one of the state capitals around the country where we're going to be, and get a chance to really, dive in and learn this stuff and get around some other young people like yourself that want to do more and want to be a part of the solution and saving the country and receive the torch of freedom. We want to pass it to you, and we want to train you and equip you and deploy you out there as a good biblical citizen to help save the country. So do definitely, Thomas, go to patriotacademy.com. We also have a 1-month program if you got all of July available. We've got a fantastic program in July. Your question was so good. In fact, man, if you are interested in doing that, I'm going to offer you a full scholarship right now on the air. If you'd like to come and spend the whole month at Patriot Academy's campus, you get to do a 4-day handgun class. You get a 3 hours college credit in government. You get all kinds of great training. You get to help us out here on the campus as we're getting ready for our big events. And it's called the Patriot Institute. It's the summer intensive for a month, and it's $19.97 is the tuition normally to do that whole thing, and it includes the last week Leadership Congress, which is normally $1,000 by itself. Thomas, if you're interested in that, I want you to go to our website, patriotacademy.com today. And there's an info at Patriot Academy. You send in an email and you say, Rick Green told me on the air he'd give me a scholarship to come to the 1-month intensive. And I don't know if that's even possible for you. You may not have the summer time available to do that. But your question was so good. I love the fact that you're hungry and that you want to make a difference. And so the first thing I'd encourage you to do is come to Patriot Academy and learn these things, and I will scholarship you to do so. How's that sound?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that opportunity. I do have quite a bit planned in July. I'm a full-time student pretty much. I'm taking summer classes as well at the University of Arkansas.
Oh, good.
I'm working 2 jobs right now, so definitely got the time pinch going on, but I appreciate that opportunity very much. I do say, I just want to be part of that younger generation right now that, to me, it's about establishing common sense. There's so much nonsense in the world right now going on, and I look at that affecting so many young men my age and young women as well. I just want to kind of touch base with you and see what you thought about it. So,
well, go Hogs, go, brother. My sister and my brother-in-law both graduated from U of A, and when I first moved to Texas, I had red carpet and go Hogs go all over my drapes, just so you know. But hey, seriously, man, go to our website, and if you can find a date for any of those, even the 3-day ones this summer, I'd love to have you. Your heart is exactly right. And Thomas, you represent, a lot of our listeners don't realize this, you represent, I think, a significant percentage of your generation that is going to turn this country around. You guys are hungry, you're conservative, you love the Lord, you want to do the right thing, you want to be servant leaders. So the people that think your generation's lost and all of that, they're just not around the right ones. I get to be around young men like you all the time, and I'm excited for you. So I hope you'll check out Patriot Academy and come see me, man, and check out our new course, Rebuilding Liberty, and we go deeper into the 222 and some things you can do even now while you're busy going to school and working the jobs and all that. But I will keep that scholarship open for you. If you can find a way to come join us, that door is open for you. So track me down, bro.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
All right. God bless you. Thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach. By the way, that website for Thomas and everybody else, if you want to get some young people into those programs, patriotacademy.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Hey, if you're looking for family-friendly entertainment or resources to strengthen your walk with God, there's one name you should remember: American Family Studios. We don't just want to bring you shows, movies, and specials that will entertain